Hello. After thinking about it some time, I decided to make this video about what I think about some of the unrest that I'm seeing in the UK at the moment, what I think about it. So first up, well, everyone seems to be blaming Tommy Robinson for instigating all this sort of thing, and it seems like they are now trying to pin a possible terrorism charge against Tommy Robinson. First, I would just like to say who I am. My background is in science, and I was a science researcher, not for very long, but still, that's what my original background qualifications are, science. My job is, or was at the time, really, to look at facts and evaluate results, and feelings and emotions don't really come into it. And about 5 years ago, I got curious about, I had a lot of time and free time on my hands, and I got curious about this Tommy Robinson character. And like any, well, good research scientist does, I started to investigate what he has actually said that's so bad to be labeling him in this manner in the news. So I started, first off, I went to Wikipedia and other places and got some basic information, and Quora and everywhere else. But then I thought, well, okay, now that's that source of information. Now let's see what he's actually said. So that's so bad that, well, he's being censored everywhere and everything else, being labelled this racist, neo-Nazi, whatever. So I started to look at what he was saying. The first place I went was probably at the time YouTube, where I saw that straight away. I can't remember exactly how many. Most of his videos had a warning about, I don't know what the warning was anymore, but there was a warning. You couldn't look at the videos without clicking on the warning label. So that piqued my interest, and I thought, what's he actually saying that's so bad that YouTube has to put a warning on this? So I looked and looked at what he was actually saying. Is he actually saying far-right views such as exterminate such a group or whatever? No. So I started thinking, well, there must be something really that he's saying that's really bad. So I kept digging deeper, right? As a research scientist, you get a bit obsessed with things. In my thesis, I studied the same topic for three or 4 years. So we dig quite deep. So basically, I looked at a lot of YouTube videos and wasn't seeing much content that I thought should be censored. Anyway, so what happened was I actually thought, well, he's sort of been a little bit unfairly labelled here. So I tried to correct a few things on Wikipedia and Quora and a few places elsewhere, and quickly found myself, Wikipedia would retract the updates. They wouldn't let me continue to put more factual information in or link to his YouTube account or anything like that. So in the end, I sort of started seeing a pattern where everything he's saying is being censored. And if you try to correct that information or share that information, you too will find yourself censored. This happened to me. I tried to correct and make a more neutral view of this Tommy Robinson character, and I found myself quickly banned from Quora, the website Quora, the Quora. And I thought I would be kind of exempt because I had the letters PhD after my name. So I quickly found myself banned from Quora, global IP ban on Wikipedia. This started to kind of annoy me a bit, and I started to go down a bit of a rabbit hole and share things around a bit more. And To cut a long story short, you know, I tried to be a bit anonymous at first, but I quickly found myself censored by YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. All these major platforms quickly censored me. And I even got banned from YouTube. Totally YouTube banned. Total ban from LinkedIn as well for saying a few things. But anyway, that's just what I experienced. And getting back to Tommy Robinson though, I noticed that the media, the BBC in particular, and other English media, maybe ITV and whatever, they don't really seem to address what Tommy Robinson is actually saying. They prefer to try this, a slander approach. It's like a character. Years ago, it was a character assassination. So if you look at his Wikipedia page, he has a lot of convictions, and people automatically, young people who are a bit naive, think, well, he's got convictions, he must be a bad person, or he's, a bit like what they're doing with Trump now. They're saying 34 convicted felon counts, they don't even know what the felony counts are. So I kind of looked into a lot of these, and say, for example, one was mortgage fraud or something like that, where they forged some income checks or something to do with that, to pay off to get a loan for a house or something. Okay. But the thing is, I don't really care about mortgage fraud, because the subject's not about mortgage fraud, it's about Islam. And same goes for, these cocaine allegations or whatever, 3.6 grams of cocaine. I've never done any sort of drugs like that, but I don't really care, because it's not relevant to the discussion. It's just not relevant. And in any way, in most of the movies that you see today, in English movies, there is a lot of drug use going on. So it's really quite irrelevant to me, to Tommy's message, what he's saying. And they seem to use this approach. The media now likes to filter people. They try to filter what people are saying. And at first, when I first saw one of Tommy's videos, I remember him standing outside with a big crowd of people against the BBC. And I had this sort of precious high view of the BBC, and I thought, what's the BBC done wrong? How could people hate the BBC? But I see now, while you might be able to trust them with finance news or weather news or other day-to-day news, you really can't entirely trust what the BBC really say about Tommy anymore. It's got to this point. They started a type of... I think he has one of the biggest cases for defamation or libel the world has ever seen. I really do. In the West, he's just... It started off... I think it really started off, they, like the media, and I get my information from a wide range of media, including even Fox News or wherever, or France 24, wherever, all over the place. It really, and it's true that the news has become very polarized, which is unfortunate. And then, by the way, I see myself as a centrist now, and I'll get to that later on. But it really started, I think, when the BBC does kind of portray people as either good guys or bad guys. They're a bit black and white in that sense. They sort of see how can we paint this as a bad story or a good story. And I think it even starts with the image that they choose. So the other thing is, while I've got a lot to say, and this video is probably going to take 90 minutes, while most of what they're saying might be true, it's what they leave out that can be important, and how they distort what is there. So it starts with the image. So for example, The Guardian and others, they'll choose an image of Tommy, that image, to make him look like a mean, horrible person, to reinforce this image. So I think it started there. They use this far right label on anyone that disagrees with this whole open borders, immigration, whatever. And it's got to the point it's not that the BBC has lied, it's that they are actually guilty of a type of misinformation. They are accusing Tommy of misinformation, but they are actually manipulating people's opinions too about him. Now, I've been following Tommy for a long time, probably 5 years, and there's only a couple of times when Tommy videos turn out to be truly misinformation. For example, there's a video going around where someone was pissing on a pork meat in a Dutch supermarket. That apparently turned out to be a fake video. But the majority of the videos that he's showing are not misinformation. They're not so-called disinformation. They're just simply videos that are happening on the ground, current videos that that are actual facts, right? So anyway, the thing with lies, I guess, and this is the thing, they try to portray him as a bad character, a bad influence on people. The thing with lies is they eventually catch up with you. I remember I'll tell you a little anecdote. When I was in high school, okay, I didn't do my homework one time. Nobody in the class did their homework. And I remember it was a maths lesson. And then the teacher picked me out because I was one of the smartest, quietest kids in the school, and the teacher decided to pick me out. He said, "You, why haven't you done your homework?" And I just said, "My dog ate it." And well, the teacher made me stand up in front of the whole class and say, "Well, what did you find, or what did you result?" I can't even remember what he asked me to do, but he forced me to stand up. I stood up. I felt terrible. I felt embarrassed, so embarrassed that I virtually never lied again. It was such an embarrassment to be caught out. I don't know why I thought I could get away with that, but the whole dog ate my homework excuse. But anyway, I tried it on with this teacher and it didn't work. And this is the thing, that now it seems to me that the distortion and the manipulation is starting to catch up with the BBC. They don't like being called out on it. And what's happening is it's almost becoming like it's almost becoming, the lies that have to be told, they have to be continued, and it's almost becoming like a type of fascism now, where if you don't think a certain way, you'll be silenced, you'll be cancelled. I think this sort of thing has got to stop. I think Tommy Robertson, yes, we all know his name is Stephen Yaxley-Lennon, we all know it. And by the way, I know why they keep putting his name in there. It's to make if he goes through an airport or something, it's to make his life that little bit more difficult. If he tries to get a loan or open some account somewhere, it's to make his real life catch up with what he's saying online. I know what they're trying to do. So we all know his real name. That's not really relevant either to the message. I thought we lived in a free democracy where you could share ideas. And it seems to me that after this documentary's come out, and it's got now nearly 35 million views on it, that documentary video, while it's probably a bit longer than it needs to be, and it does go off track and a little bit amateurish in its presentation a little bit. Sorry, but while all those things, it is a scandal. It embarrasses the United Kingdom government. It embarrasses the judge that was probably made up his mind politically. He was politically biased before even Tommy set foot in the courtroom. Right? That judge should probably be sacked or resign. Okay. I think I could have done a better, more neutral job at ruling over someone than that judge. Okay, so that judge probably should resign over this. There's now that injunction on that video. I don't think there should have been an injunction. That judge was trying to hide this story from coming out, that Jamal was a little bully. We'd all been had, everyone had been had at the time. There was not much fact checking done. So the whole thing is, Tommy kind of sowed this distrust in the media and showed that the media, probably has a bit of an agenda, Tommy has also shown that there seems to be this two-tier policing. Now, you are living now in the UK in a place where you get arrested for sticking stickers around the place. And I've seen it on the video. Certain members of the community are walking around with swords and machetes and not getting arrested. And I think we all know why that is, because I think the British police force is a little bit Islamophobic in the true sense of the word. They're too scared to do anything. If they can't handle the situation with Muslims walking around with swords and machetes, they really need to call in the army to deal with that problem. You can't have a situation where people are openly carrying weapons. I've seen it in Canada where at that stupid Palestinian protest, that one of the protesters said, "I'll put you on the ground," right in front of the police, and wasn't arrested. And yet the government seems to be coming after people now, hitting them with lawfares and all this rubbish, just for speaking like I am now. It's scary because you can lose your job, you can lose your home, you can lose everything if you even open your mouth. And you should never be arrested for what you say. You should be arrested for what you do. So anyway, it's a big scandal. And I think the UK government just doesn't quite realise what large of a scandal this really is. It's probably one of the biggest scandals in the last 10 years. The media has been caught out painting, the aggressor, the bully, as the victim. And then on top of that, the judge has ruled against, 12 witnesses or whatever, and said that they were all lying. And yet the poor little victim here gets $100,000 compensation. It's basically becoming a topsy-turvy 1984 world. It's very scary. So it seems to me that the media and the government is digging themselves into an even bigger, deeper hole. Every time they put out a story about Tommy, people search for him online, and he's not that hard to find now. Before, 5 years ago, he was shadow banned on YouTube. He's had his Facebook banned. Half of us now have had all our channels I'm banned from everything. So the thing is, they're digging themselves an even deeper hole by not admitting that there's even a problem. Now, you can slander people, and it's you can slander people as much as you like, but the message, notice that they're not really dealing and discussing the message. They're trying to do this character assassination thing. So they're calling everybody far right for having valid concerns. I think that's an insult. I'm certainly not far right. I am an environmentalist. I used to be I think of myself as a centralist. I'm not anti-abortion. I used to be a leftist. I've since come more to the centre, the political spectrum now. I would like to see people come together where we care about the environment and we recognise the dangers of Islam. That, I think, is our future. I'll come back to that. All Tommy has really done is shown unfair news reporting and unfair policing. People don't like these sort of injustices and they're rightly angry, very angry about it, and calling them far right is going to exacerbate the problem. Also, I could probably talk for 4 or 5 or 6 hours on this subject. I really could. The other thing is, we all know that Tommy didn't flee. He wasn't served the court papers correctly. Now, the thing is, it looks increasingly likely that Tommy is going to prison. And then what will happen then is people will be rightly outraged and they'll share that documentary video even more. And it'll cause more people to awaken. Almost every day at the moment, Tommy is now gaining between 10 and 30,000 followers. Imagine if you're walking along the street and a whole football stadium of followers follows you new on top of your now 900,000 crowd every single day. Well, that's what's happening. And the cat is out of the bag now. I don't think there's any going back to that old world of the two-tier policing world. People aren't having it. You cannot have a situation which is racist in itself, where one community is treated one way and the other is treated another. And the whole point is I thought everyone was supposed to be equal and treated equally. You can't hold Muslims to a lower standard and say, well, it's all right for them to get violent and mob up. Whatever. For whatever reason, you have to police equally. It's not good if people lose trust in the media and the government and the justice system and the policing. And that's what's happening. So I'm going to come out and say, probably the first scientist out there, first science researcher, I support Tommy. I support what he's saying. I see he's becoming a political dissident. The media has totally vilified him. That the media is actually now almost stalking Tommy. And the media, the Scott Inquirer, the National Scott. I look up my sources, right? The National Scott even is doxed Tommy to tell you everyone where he is. But the thing is, I think so many people on Tommy's side now, they probably go around to his hotel and shout him a beer. That's what's happened now. The common man supports Tommy. I think young left people today are still a bit naive and ignorant. I was a leftist. I was a bit naive about world politics. Now I'd probably study political science. But I was a bit naive about the whole world. Had this sort of utopian view that wanted equality. I was almost a bit of a communist. Wanted everyone to be equal, but the world is not an equal place. I like having separate countries. I don't want to see too much globalization. Having said that, I do like other countries and cultures, and I actually speak several other languages, so I'm not all anti-cultural. I like cultures. So anyway, getting back to Tommy. Tommy is... in the beginning, they're trying to nab him with this... A lot of the court cases are the breaching the court injunctions that should not have been in place anyway. I don't know much about law, but I don't really think Tommy was trying to slander anyone. I think he's just trying to unravel the truth about things. We shouldn't be punished for reporting on the truth. I think very dangerous times are ahead because there's more and more censorship. I have seen it in Russia where the mainstream, the state TV propaganda will show you a protest where the image of the protest where there's half a dozen protesters in the middle of Siberia surrounded by police looking like they have the situation under control. In reality, if you go to TV Rain, Channel Rain, it showed the complete opposite, where I think it was St. Petersburg, where the police were literally surrounded in the middle of the city on all sides by hundreds of thousands of people, and almost losing control of the situation. Almost became a revolution right there. So, and yeah, it seems to be parallel worlds, and that's kind of what's happening now with the BBC. You know, the the BBC has not reported on all the knife crime. Then yesterday the BBC said that overall crime's going down. That might be true. Overall crime might be going down, like home burglaries, but that might probably be due to more people having more home security. They might be. The thing is, some crime has gone down, yes, but the crime that Tommy and others are talking about, the knife crime, has probably gone up. I dug into the BBC's own source of information that they themselves supplied, and they're trying to tell everyone that crime has gone down. Okay, but I looked it up, and in the last 12 years, the threats to kill have gone up 393% in 12 years. So anyway, the Tommy's going to probably be charged with this breaking the court injunction for the releasing that documentary video, which probably shouldn't have had the injunction on it in the first place anyway. That's going to mobilise a lot more people. They're going to share it a lot more. They're going to get angrier. They're not going to get quieter. And then if they try to pin this terrorism charge on Tommy on top of that, and they virtually already have because he refused to hand over his phone PIN codes due to privacy reasons, if he actually, and they're now talking about extraditing him on terror charges for instigating this, if that happens, he could be facing a long time in prison, and people are not going to be happy about that. And there's going to end up being more violence. I think what needs to happen is the government needs to have serious discussions. There needs to be a serious public debate. I think there needs to be an inquiry, a public inquiry, a parliamentary inquiry into leftist bias of taxpayer-funded media organisations. In other words, the BBC. I don't think they're held accountable. No, I don't think they're held accountable. I've just watched the documentary again 2 nights ago. I watched it 5 years ago, so I rewatched it. I don't think the media are held to account. They are talking about Tommy like he's some sort of evil person, and all he's doing, he's the messenger. He's just sharing videos. That's it. He's not telling people to do anything. He's actually tried to calm people down and have discussions about things. So I think there's no going back for people. You're either going to live in a world where it's going to be increasingly Muslims get their own way, and then they'll be imposing their bullshit on everyone else, or everyone's treated fairly and equally as it should be. And I don't think people are going to tolerate the two-tier thing anymore. They've just seen it with their own eyes. Now, maybe the UK government shouldn't catastrophise and just deal with the real problem. I think what they're thinking is, oh, well, if we arrest such and such Muslim carrying a sword, they're all going up like kicking an ant's nest. Well, then do it, because the alternative is worse future long term. It's the future of the UK is not looking bright. I think certain things need to happen. You can't unsee things. I think you now in the UK are living in a post 2-tier world. It's it. People aren't having it anymore. The government are now threatening people online for just speaking. It's ridiculous. Now, if Muslims are as peace-loving as everyone says, and they're the religion of peace, well then you've got nothing to worry about if you arrest a few of them carrying swords then, do you? Now, that's just the way I think. What's the problem then? What's the problem in arresting the other lot then? I think that there's wider implications than just the two-tier policing. It's, well, the justice system. How could a judge rule that way? There just seems to be some sort of bias. It's plus the media. It's all three things combined. Plus the government acting like a bunch of fascists. You know, the Black Lives Matter movement had the run of the place for months on end. The Palestinians did too. They were graffitiing everywhere, whatever. I personally do not agree with violence, and I don't agree with that sort of approach. But I think people have had enough of it. People have had enough of it. You know, I think there's a lot of what I call white guilt. We have been made to feel guilty for our culture and everything, and even our technology over the decades. And I felt depressed with the news. You know, I think that's where my original depression comes from. The news, we're made to feel like I think there's a lot of self-hate, self-loathing going on. I think we should, young people in particular, should be very grateful. Be grateful for everything technology has given you. People are too ungrateful at the moment. I think we've accomplished a lot. We have things to be proud of. We should be sticking up for our values and the priority of those values. That's it. And what's happening is probably the so-called clash of civilizations. And yesterday I started reading this book, The Clash of Civilizations. I think I'm already up to chapter 3. I might probably take a week to read that, and then I might come back and make another video. I don't know. I think we're seeing that play out now. You know, people are not just going to give up on their own culture. The left keeps pushing people in a direction that not everyone wants to go. Not everyone wants to go. It's just got silly. There's too much of this woke nonsense going on. It almost is becoming a 1984 world. You know, like now they're trying to tell children, that men can become women and women can become men. It's just, it's a load of bullshit. Anyway, getting back to Tommy, I don't entirely trust what the media say about him. No, because I've seen it myself. Maybe I think it's a little bit more accurate now than in 5 years ago. When I saw Tommy's page, Wikipedia page, before, it was probably worse. Now, it is factual, but it's all slander. And what is the key with Wikipedia is they won't show you on Wikipedia or Quora or anywhere else Tommy unfiltered. They won't show you that documentary. If you try to even just add in one little source reference to that documentary, they'll remove it. That's been my experience. And then they won't just remove it. You'll get a global IP ban and you won't ever be able to edit any other Wikipedia article again. That is very dangerous when you are now censoring research scientists from adding references. It's dangerous. I think that, the left is trying to rewrite the history books. They've even done it on Wikipedia. They renamed the Barbarian Invasions Wikipedia article to the Great Migration Period. They really did. They renamed the Barbarian Invasions to the Great Migration Period. Except if you look at that article in Italian, It's still referred to as the barbarian invasions. So Italians are not having it. So if there's anything I've learned about anything to do with Tommy, it's get the information straight from him. Don't use any filtered news source, because they'll manipulate it, they'll mold it, they'll polish it, they'll choose an image of Bad Whale, they'll put things in inverted commas, they'll use negative adjectives to describe him. They'll never, almost never use the word alleged with Tommy, but they will use the word alleged with other, you know, migrants and other communities that they want to make out like the greatest thing since sliced bread. They'll use the word alleged everywhere else, but they won't use the word alleged with Tommy. Another great book I read is called Demon Haunted World by Carl Sagan, which really made me a lot more rigorous and not so much cynical, but just more about facts. I highly recommend the book Demon Haunted World by Carl Sagan. As I say, I'm also reading this book. I might make another video about that book. I would like to see more people openly discussing these issues, because there doesn't seem to be many people. I think people are too afraid. I have put this video off a long time. I have made videos in the past, but as I say, my YouTube channel got banned for other reasons. I think people are too scared to speak out now. I've been putting this video off for a long time, but I was always told, growing up in the 90s as Generation X, don't talk about religion or politics. And there was this big impulse of political correctness, which is kind of morphed into its ugly stepsister. This political correctness has morphed into its ugly stepsister, self-censorship. That's what I think today. People are self-censoring. If you're afraid to speak out, then you probably have already left it too late. You should have spoken out before. We shouldn't be afraid to just speak, We shouldn't be afraid to criticise the government. We shouldn't be afraid to criticise the media. I'd like to see, is the BBC going to come after me now and slander me, a former research scientist with not a single, conviction, not a single assault? I've never been to prison. What, you're gonna come after me? You're gonna extradite me? Is the king gonna extradite me from, the Commonwealth? No, I think people are a bit too scared to make these kind of videos, which is a shame. I think more people need to discuss these issues. This video is probably going to be fairly popular. I may make more. That may encourage me to make more. My other career is not going that well. I think the UK government needs to stop labelling everybody. You need to stop threatening everybody online for just sharing information. That's all they're doing, is sharing real videos. It's not misinformation. It's not disinformation. As I said, I could only find one piece of disinformation about that video. The man pissing on the pork. That was fake, okay. But the majority are what's happened on the ground. It's not misinformation. If anything, it's the BBC that is doing the misinformation and disinformation campaign about Tommy. And a lot of people are now seeing it. And there's no backtracking. And, they're digging themselves into an ever greater, deeper hole. The media would do a good job to look at itself hard in the mirror and stop blaming Tommy, stop slandering Tommy, defaming Tommy. It's libel bullshit. You, the media, are setting yourselves up for one of the biggest defamation cases The world, no. No, that won't happen because the media's probably got too much control. Now, I mentioned this before. I've been rambling for a long time. And this unplanned, unscripted video. It's not easy to do. I forget things. But one thing I did say was the media leave a lot out. And the one thing the media leave out today is I've been doing a bit of digging, and everywhere around the world, about every 2, 3, 4 days, on average, there's an Islamic terror attack somewhere, usually in Africa, killing more than about 10 people. If you go to the religionofpeace.com, you can have a look at the last 30 days terror attacks. Many of these, I won't say all or none, but many of these terror attacks are just simply not being reported. And you can try and pull the news up for it, but they won't ever cover all of them because it might make Islam look worse than it already is. But all over Africa in the Sahel region, there's all these attacks going on. It seems to me that there's a lot of conflict. Everywhere Islam goes, you know, it seems that conflict usually follows. There's a lot of conflict associated with that civilization. And I don't think it's racist to say that. It's just a fact, and we have to live in a world of facts. There's conflict all, and you know, I could give examples: Kashmir, Chechnya, West Papua, southern Thailand. There's insurgency. There's the Israel-Palestine conflict. There's Sudan, North Sudan, South Sudan. They became separate. One's North Islamic, South is Christian. There's a lot of these countries keep popping up. Niger, Nigeria, Chad. There's a lot of conflict in the world. Philippines, Xinjiang. Anyway, the news, sometimes the BBC reports on these things, sometimes France 24 often reports on them. Al Jazeera actually does not a bad job of reporting on those terror attacks, but overall, none of those outlets are reporting on all of them. What I mean there, and some never get reported by mainstream. Now, if those terror attacks were white terror attacks, they'd be reported instantly. But so a lot of the Islamic terror attacks are going unreported around the world. And these are not just these little stabbings here, they're getting 1 or 2 or 3 people. Major bombings and stuff. They might be reported in, say, France 24, but then CNN or NBC won't pick up on it. And then one might be picked up by BBC, but then it won't be picked up by the ABC. And I think that if the news media reported what was actually going on, you know, people would sort of say, well, enough, you know, we don't want that sort of conflict to come here. You know, we don't want that sort of conflict to come here. Anyway, so that actually bothers me equally as much as them maligning Tommy, that the media doesn't report frequently on these terror attacks. One time I can remember that the media was gloating over one of the anniversaries of the Christchurch terror attack, and while they were 2 or 3 years later, while they were gloating about that, the far right white terror, they missed out reporting on one attack, I think it was in Nigeria, killing over 50 people. They just didn't report on it. It's like they'd omitted it. They'd not. This is what is a real danger. The news now is not telling you all the important events. It's telling you some of them. But it seems to me, just the other day, the BBC, while all these riots were happening up and down the country, the BBC put out a story about, I think that was the police or the fire department or something, being called out to They rescue a cat with a jar stuck on its head. You know, they're pushing these bullshit stories that aren't important news. When I was growing up, the news just told you the news, and then at the end of the news, there was one maybe happy story, okay. But the sort of the geopolitical situation is quite tense now. And I might leave that discussion to another time with the whole what I think of Ukraine and those tensions. I would like to see the news more neutral and just reporting on global events, including all the terror events that are going around the world, no matter who's doing them. People need to see what's going on so they can be informed. And at the moment, you've got two kind of echo chambers. You've got the leftist one. The left people are seeing only kind of mostly left news, and the right people are only seeing the right news. I wish that the news was a bit more neutral and unbiased, and just reporting on both immigration and the environment. I think those are the key issues of our time: migration and the environment. I will make another separate video maybe about why I left the left, and I think it became all about because it became about all people and less about the environment. But anyway, I think I've said enough in one video. I probably have to make more videos. I don't know. I'm got to get my exercise now. Try to do some, 4 or 5 days a week, get some exercise. So that's what I'm going to do. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.